Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We're back for match week 3 review after another exciting weekend of footy. Lots to get through. Joined this evening by Mark and Peter. How are you both doing, chaps? It's raining, miserable, and all very Sheffield-like weather over here in jolly old Blighty.
Go on, Peter. I'll let you start this time because I normally take over this role. So.
I just love the music. I'm really relaxing. I'm chilling with that music. Reminds me very much of Matt and Ava's old Zweite Bundesliga pod, where they had some nice, relaxing classical music as part of the intro and all of that stuff. So great to be with you, gents, and excellent job on the opening music selection. Once again, I say.
Yeah, cheers for that one, Peter. Yeah, it's still not quite as good as Herbert Grönemeyer's music, though, is it? Or Lilian. Yeah, we've got to get some of that on there maybe in the future. But yeah, all good my end as well. The autumn's starting to kick in a little bit in the Bundesrepublik now. But yeah, another good weekend of football. So why not discuss it tonight?
Well, exactly. I need some sort of cathartic release after my teams are not really doing me much much of a favour right now. But of course, I'm sporting the colours of VfB because you got to go through with the rough and the smooth. And to be honest, it's been awfully smooth for VfB fans of late. So just a couple of defeats at the start of the season. It's not anything really to moan about too much, but we'll get into that. Later on, we've got breaking news today of another head coach, the second to have been given the chop already this season. So we'll talk Gerardo Seoane a little bit later during the show. Match week 3 review and Champions League predictions for match week 1. We're already Champions League time. So the league stage phase will kick off tomorrow, Tuesday, and play over the next 3 nights. Bundesliga obviously having representation via Bayern, Leverkusen, Frankfurt, and Dortmund. So yeah, looking forward to those games as well. So just before we get into it all, just want to have a quick shout out for our usual little bits of admin. So do make sure that you like this video if you can. Already seen a couple of people checking in, which is awesome. So good morning / good evening to you, Justin, and of course Left Footed. Hope you're all going to enjoy and get involved with the discussion that we'll be having this evening. Of course, big shout out to our partners for the season, Covert Football Trips, who obviously Rich is a great friend of ours does, and obviously we did an awesome giveaway with his Bundesliga boxes very recently, which is now in the post on its way to the winner, which is absolutely fantastic. And of course, Bully News as well. Make sure you follow us on socials for all that good loving. So I think, obviously, given the title of our video this evening, chaps, we might as well start with Friday night. It was a big game for Leverkusen. Life after Erik ten Hag is going pretty well. First game for new head coach in play, Kaspar Hjulmand and Hjulmand. Sorry, I'm thinking too much of Rasmus Højlund, aren't I? Who's obviously now doing fantastically at Napoli. The game itself, chaps, 3-1 to the home side, Frankfurt. Pretty disappointing overall in one of the few games I've managed to watch live this weekend. But Mark, I mean, just kickstarting this, we've called it, Grimaldo gives Leverkusen lift off. It was a wild game, this, particularly towards the end of the match. But Leverkusen, really impressed, I think, in the first half. I thought they were really at it. I think you have to highlight, there's loads to talk about in this game. But one thing I think that, one player is obviously not going to go unnoticed, which is Grimaldo. But on the other side of it, Lucas Vasquez, his first start, coming over from Madrid, I thought he just gave a real maturity to Leverkusen down that right-hand side, whilst other people were seemingly losing their heads around him, which we'll talk about. So, talk us through this one. Obviously, the the first goal is an excellent strike from Grimaldo, albeit with a touch of fortune. It bouncing back off Zetterer and going into the back of the net. And then, the penalty right on half time. I'm sure you'll have your opinion on this one, Mark, because it was your best friend, Robin Koch, captain of who gave it away with a very silly and lazy outstretched boot. So what did you make of the first half? Was it a thoroughly deserved 2-0 scoreline for Leverkusen?
Yeah, I mean, the game was a little bit crazy, to be honest, wasn't it? Like a lot of kind of mistakes in the game, particularly from Frankfurt, obviously, giving away a number of fouls, including basically all the goals for Leverkusen came from set pieces, didn't they? Obviously, 2 direct free kicks and then a penalty, which kind of gives you the impression that Frankfurt didn't potentially, defend as well as they could have done. Obviously, we've got to mention the main man, Grimaldo, first of all, haven't we? I mean, it's been a while since we've seen those trademark free kicks, but obviously 2 of them landed in one evening, which was basically a welcome gift, really, for Kaspar Hjulmand. He definitely needed that after a poor start to the season. I feel as though it worked a little bit better. I didn't think it was a vintage Leverkusen performance by any means. I felt as though it was very much kind of dead ball victories. I felt as though Nathan Teller played well, to be honest. He did run. He's obviously got blistering pace, hasn't he? And I felt as though he caused the likes of Robin Koch a lot of problems there. I believe that was his first start of the season as well. He wasn't being used under the much maligned Erik ten Hag. He had a decent game as well. He kind of stretched the performance a lot. I felt as though a lot of it was kind of counter-attacking as well from Leverkusen, to be honest. It felt as though a few long balls over the box against that kind of, in my opinion, a little bit skeptical Frankfurt defense. It is their weakness, really, isn't it, ultimately? And I felt as though Leverkusen kind of took advantage of that. As you say, Rory, I mean, the challenge from Koch was unnecessary and a little bit poor, in truth, to give away a soft penalty when there probably wasn't really that much danger on, in truth. Right at the end of the first half as well, literally just a few seconds remaining of that. So that was disappointing, yeah. But I think overall, great performance really from Leverkusen. I mean, obviously, Kaspar Hjulmand was only appointed around about a week before the game, so he didn't have that much time to prepare his troops. As for the appointment of Hjulmand, what can you say, really? I mean, when he was Denmark manager, I always felt as though he was just that kind of lovable dad type character, really. He's got that little paunch on him and his dad jumpers all the time and things. And he gives that impression that he's like the polar opposite of Erik ten Hag, basically.
So we've got PE teachers and dads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This guy is just the most lovable dad you can possibly meet, basically. That's Kaspar Hjulmand, in a word. And I think the reason why they've gone for him after, obviously, the Ten Hag disaster, basically, is because he's effectively the complete polar opposite of the Dutchman. Effectively, he comes across as very likable, gregarious kind of character. Whether his tactics are really going to be good enough to mount a Champions League push, I'm not sure, in truth. I didn't feel as though he did that much special tactically. I don't know if Peter disagrees with me on this one, but deserved win, Leverkusen. I felt as though Frankfurt really underwhelmed, to be honest, apart from the Chanelsun's, kind of spontaneous finish in the area, which took a deflection and a hit off the goalkeeper too. I was a little bit underwhelmed by the SG's performance. I mean, we've talked before in the past that if the SG want to go to the next level, they need to perform better against the top teams in Germany. And for me, that has always been what's missing from them. That was 6 wins in a row for Leverkusen against Frankfurt, by the way, which is just, it's not a good record at all, And I think they play Bayern in a couple of weeks as well. So we'll have to see. But I mean, obviously, a lot of people were really talking them up after the first 2 games, but this is definitely it's a stopper for them. I'm going to be honest. I didn't feel as though they played well at all, that the system didn't work. I still feel as though Johnny B hasn't got going for them at all, really, yet. The midfield is still a very strong midfield, but against the real better teams in the league, I'm still not convinced they can win those type of games. I don't know if you guys agree, but that's my take on it, really, for now.
I'll swing this over to Peter then. For the time, I know Leverkusen were only down to 9 men for a short while in the game, but Frankfurt, for me, felt that they just got so excited with the fact they had a man advantage and then a two-man advantage that they didn't really play that advantage particularly well, and it was too frenetic. There was too many fouls. They were getting involved in the mind games because it was really touchy at the end of the game, wasn't it, Peter?
Absolutely, and I was not sure I agreed with Topmüller's substitutions. I mean, as soon as I saw Batshuayi come onto the pitch in the 71st, I thought to myself, "Do you really want to win this game?" And then, I mean, I was pleased to see Knauf and Wahi, who has also had a good camp. But when Mo Dahoud came on there and immediately committed that horrible foul, I really thought to myself, I don't. How are you not using this man advantage here? So. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously too early to draw conclusions for Hjulmand. I wanted to point out that Mark and I had a wonderful laugh on Sunday morning my time here, being 7 hours behind, in which I fired up the kicker and saw that Stefan van Knox, whom I'll be sure to visit next time I'm in Nuremberg, stole Mark's line, as Balam likes to say. What did Mark say about Xabi?
Yeah.
Mark?
He's cooking.
He's cooking. Well,
Yeah.
Stefan van Knox had I think what happened is he must have gone out to dinner on Saturday night and still had dinner on his mind before he wrote the article on Sunday, because it was ridiculous. I mean, he called. There's this article. I saved it for you. I wanted to mention it on here because it was Hausmann kost statt Sterne Küche. You could translate that as home cooking instead of Michelin-starred cuisine, and he goes on and on. The whole freaking article is like, he's like, Hausmann kost statt Delikatessfußball. We've got a home recipe instead of gourmet football, and then he starts talking about soup and salt, and it goes on and on and on. And on.
Maybe he gets dad vibes from Hjulmand as well.
I think the man just went out. As a matter of fact, I know the former Bayer Leverkusen chef. He has a 3-star Michelin in the Black Forest.
Wow.
Maybe that's where Stefan van Knox was. He was over at Roy Kieferle's getting some 3-star Michelin cuisine, and and that's all he could think about the next day. So next time we're in Nuremberg, I'm going to go invite Stefan van Knox out to dinner.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I mean, with Frankfurt, I do feel bad for them because, as you said, Ozun's finish was quite good, and that early injury to Christensen, which of course forced Nnamdi Collins into the right back role. If you haven't been following the German national team over the break, congratulations, you did not miss much. But poor Nnamdi Collins has become something of the poster child for what's wrong with German football, because Nagelsmann deployed him as a right back. So as soon as Christensen went off and Brown came on, and I saw Collins moving over to the right back position, I was like, we don't need this. He just had a horrible outing at right back for the German national team, and he really wasn't able to recover. So some bad luck early. I think Christensen was off in the 10th, and taking nothing away from Leverkusen, Tella, as you mentioned, absolutely fantastic. He's very happy not to be playing wing back anymore. Vasquez did a good job, both as a wing back and a makeshift midfielder once Andrich was sent off. And Grimaldo with the golf swing goal celebration, emblematic of how one keeps one's golf swing up and how one trains for set pieces. It is all a matter of practice, 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 practice. And that's why he's as good as he is.
Yeah, indeed. So I guess that's that game covered. Thoughts on the 2 red cards, two yellow, second bookable offences. Both second yellow cards for both players, I feel, were about as dim as each other. Andrich's one was not great, but nor was debutant's. Fernandez's challenge, I thought, was really, really stupid. So not the best way to maybe introduce yourself to the home fans, and especially given the fact that who's going to play in the middle for them next week, because Palacios went off injured early on in the match. So
Garcia, I guess, is the only one left.
Garcia is left to play.
Etcheverry, I think Etcheverry can play as a central mid as well, right?
So can Tape. They can move him back, and of course they can always move Tella back again.
Yeah.
You mentioned the refereeing. Another guy we got to have a good talking to in Nuremberg was Dennis Eitekin. It was not a good match.
Yeah, I thought about him as well. Yeah, I walked past him. Obviously, I think was it you that I told? I think it was the guys on the group. Yeah, I walked past him, and then I remember watching this game. I was thinking, oh, Dennis, you should have stayed in Nuremberg after that one. Yeah, because he did give too many fouls and free kicks in this one, I feel. But as for the red cards, I would say they were kind of correct. Definitely Andrix was correct. You know, I think the second one was a little bit soft, I felt. But as you say, he was an inexperienced player, you know, making his debut in the Bundesliga. So not going to be one that Fernandez remembers. And he has been playing in Saudi the last 18 months as well. So I was a little bit skeptical when I saw they paid, like, what was it, 25 million euros for a player from Saudi. But we'll have to see. That was a poor debut, but I'm sure he'll get better in the long run.
It was indeed. So yeah, we'll move things along. Although yeah, absolutely a great debut and first game for Kaspar. And looking at the fixtures ahead for Leverkusen, there's no reason why they now can't actually get on a bit of a run. From what I can look at, you know, that could be a real igniter for them for sure. Let's move the dial on then, and let's talk about. Why don't we talk about the crazy 3-3 draw that we had on Saturday? What was the 80th anniversary / founding of the club of VfL Wolfsburg? Obviously drawing 3-3 with Effzeh Koeln. You know, a game that really, you know, is exciting game all the way, you know, punching blows, exchanging blows with each other all the way up to when we got this exceptionally long period of extra time. And that's when this game really kicked into gear for sure. And yeah, just amazing, some amazing goals, some ironic goals, great spirit shown by Effzeh as well, just not knowing when they're defeated. So Peter, I'll throw this one over to you first and foremost. You know, I guess we can talk a little bit about the away side. We've given them their flowers, especially after match week 2 and their excellent performance and their dogged display to win match week 1 as well. What have we learned about our newly promoted team this week? Is it more of the same, and you know, players that maybe stood out to you, you know, the likes of Kaminski or Johannesson, etc.?
Well, 7 points from 3 match days for a promoted side is incredible. As we all know, the magic number is 35. So after 3 match days, they're getting close to securing Bundesliga safety before you know it. This really, the way that the team has been restructured in the offseason, quite a bit of money was spent. Understandably so. They had a 2-year transfer ban. So there was a lot of time to save up money, but it's been very, very wisely invested. Kaminski, who scored the equalizer, is of course a loanee from Wolfsburg. Waldschmidt, your old friend Roy, good old Luca Waldschmidt, as he used to call him. He, as everyone recalls, was a flop at Wolfsburg. He was also a flop at Koeln, and decided to stay with them in the Zweite Liga and rebuild his career. So this was a match with a lot of interesting storylines, and it began with Waldschmidt's goal, of course. And then we had Amora, who's been heavily linked with a transfer away, securing the equalizer just before the break. Maximilian Arnold, the Wolfsburg captain, who had an amazing set-piece goal a little bit later in this one. That was the 3-2, supposedly the winner at 90+9. So, I mean, it was a great football match. I mean, there's a couple of factoids I'd like to report here. One, the 80th anniversary of Wolfsburg. Okay, that's not strictly speaking true. That's a little bit of a marketing ploy. They actually only reconsolidated that club, if my memory serves correctly, in the early 90s. So they're celebrating an older club, which is fine. I don't have any problem with Wolfsburg doing nice things for their fans and getting the Volkswagen Arena full for a change. which it was. It was actually full.
Yeah.
It was full. And they certainly owe their fans this, considering this is a company club town, and the main benefactor of the team is laying off its workers and paying a lot of money for footballers. So the very least they could do is do something nice for the fans. Kaminski's equalizer at 90 plus 14, is technically a Bundesliga record, based on the fact that is the latest injury time goal to be scored. And Kaminski broke the previous record of his teammate Marius Bülter. Do you recall when Marius scored the winner against Mainz at 90 plus 12? And that was at the end of the 2022-23 campaign. The three of us were discussing that goal on this very pod back then. We've been together for quite some time, we have. So it is pretty amazing what Kwasniok has been able to do with Koeln. The team is just incredible when it comes to wide play. And that's built around, thanks to players like Kaminski, like Thielmann, who are also trained fullbacks. They're what we call wide men. I call them rail players, but apparently that's not an acceptable British footballing parlance term, I've learned. You guys don't use that. I don't know what.
Too Yankee for us.
It's too Yankee. Yeah, you don't use rail players.
Wide men. You can use wide men.
You can use wide men. Okay. And of course, we saw that in the victory against Freiburg too. I mean, all of these goals came from these amazing crosses and switches. So I mean, it's built in a, not to get into my tactical stuff, it's one of those 3-3-2-2s, but it's just so wonderfully shaped. It's shaped like a perfect little heart there with Eric Martel at the middle and his longtime friend and Germany U21 teammate Thielmann, sort of flipping in a rotating 8 role. I really do like it. And there's a lot of good players that have either revived their career, like Waldschmidt. I guess we can count Bülter in there. Like Martel and Thielmann, who stuck with the team throughout the Zweite Bundesliga campaign. And also Said Al-Mala, in the event that there are any Brighton fans watching. They, of course, prepared a 10 million euro offer for him this offseason before he had played a single Bundesliga match. And Koeln rejected this. Then they came back with a 15 million euro offer. I was wondering why, personally, but now I know why. I mean, he is a truly special player.
Not as safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I didn't talk all that much about Wolfsburg, who are also a well-built team. I think that, I mean, Arnold, one of his set piece specialties, that was absolute magic from him. You can throw it over to Mark, I suppose, to get us caught up on Germany's Green Company team. I will take you to Wolfsburg one day, Mark. I'm there twice a year, usually to watch the women's match. But once you come at the Wolfsburg Bahnhof, you'll see what the joke is about. You'll be like, oh my God, we have train stations bigger than this in Nuremberg.
Yeah, well, I think we've seen them away a few times, haven't we, actually? I think I've seen them in Berlin. In Freiburg, we saw them like the complete other end of the country. We also saw them I've seen them in Augsburg twice, I think, as well. So, but never been to the Volkswagen Arena. But that's the first thing I wanted to mention about this one. It was great to see it full, to be honest, because, I mean, obviously the club has received a lot of criticism from Germany and overseas as well with their attendances in recent seasons, and quite often, unless it's against Bayern or Dortmund, the ground looks half empty, basically. But it was great to see it full, and I think it really spurred the team on as well. It sounded like a fantastic atmosphere there. Obviously, Koeln is a fantastic guest as well for an anniversary match. They definitely did their part. But yeah, congratulations to both teams for what looked like a great occasion up there. And I just hope that Wolfsburg can have won some new fans from that as well, because I think both teams played really well, to be honest. Honestly, I think it was a great advert for the Bundesliga, this game. Some of the goals were top draw. They really were, And as you say, Maxi Arnold is just surely one of the greatest dead ball players in the Bundesliga, isn't he? And I read an article recently that he runs out of contract this year, doesn't he, in the summer? And I think they're going to desperately try and keep on to him, even though he's like, 32, 33 now. but they're going to want another couple of years out of him.
I think he wants to. You and I should go see him because he's a Dresden native.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, we have an excuse to go to Dresden and watch him.
That's true. Yeah, I did read about that as well. Yeah, but interesting story from him. But yeah, the game didn't disappoint at all, and I felt as though there were a lot of good players, particularly in attacking positions. As Peter mentioned, for Koeln, Kaminski, Thielmann, the reborn Thielmann. I do like Christopher Lund as well. I think he's been decent so far. And as you say, Al Mahler off the bench just looked class, basically, with that assist. Isaacson as well. He didn't actually start this game, but he came off the bench and did the damage as well. No, sorry, not Isaacson. Isaac Johannesson. Yeah, that's going to be one that gives us a few problems. Those Icelandic names are always a little bit of a mouthful. But yeah, Isaac Johannesson. Yeah, but he came off and scored a wonderful equaliser, didn't he? And then obviously Arnold with that fantastic strike. And then your boy, I'm sure, Peter, it still kills you to see him in a Koeln shirt. Ragnar Aki setting up the third strike from Koeln as well. I mean, he's another great guy to bring off the bench, isn't he? He's not started a game yet, but every time he's come off the bench, he's looked good to me. So I just think this Koeln side, really, I mean, we were talking up Hamburg a little bit more than them on the pre-season pod, weren't we? But I think Koeln are definitely stealing the show at the minute. They look like they've got goals all over the park. They've got options on the bench. It's just fantastic to see the FC in such a good plight at the minute. As for Wolfsburg, I also think they've started well too. I think Paul Simonis, I think we were a little bit skeptical about him, weren't we, Peter? Because he's obviously very inexperienced. Only had 1 year as a professional coach before this season at Go Ahead Eagles, where he obviously won their Pokal, basically their domestic cup, against all odds, and got the big money job at Wolfsburg. And I think he started really well. I feel as though Amura, him back in the starting lineup, really made a difference in this game as well. I think the key for them is getting a tune out of Lovro Mayer. I feel as though they've got a real player there if they can get him playing more consistently. And he's definitely looked a lot better already this season. Another inconsistent player, obviously, Patrick Wimmer, who I think is always going to be inconsistent, basically. I guess the only thing that Wolfsburg need to do, they need to stop conceding these late equalizers, because basically they conceded one against Mainz, I think, in the 87th or 88th minute, and then effectively two in the 90th minute in this game. So they do need to tighten up and see games out a bit better. But I feel as though both of these teams are on a good trajectory. They've got a good system, a lot of form attackers at the minute, and I think both could potentially challenge for Europe, even from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, lofty ambitions potentially for both clubs. I'm sure, Koeln fans would have been just considering Peter's magic number of 35 upon the season starts, rather than European ambitions. But why not? This is what football's all about dreaming for the big time. Really impressive game and great to review it. Both you did some nice analysis there, I thought. Just a quick one from Left Footed asking, yourself, Mark, and Peter about vlog adventures for the new season or for the near future. I'm sure you're both itching and scratching to get ready for more adventures in the near future. And as and when you both have plans, I'm sure we'll be very happy to reveal those and get them loaded up for another season of fun. In Peter's bandwagon of adventures. I would love to myself, but I'm slightly tied at the hip right now with a 5-month-old little man. As soon as he wants to start coming on and some adventures when he's slightly older, maybe that will be my ticket across the pond to join you boys. But for now, I think I'm stuck on doing formula and baby and night feeds right now. But plenty of adventures for Mark and Peter to come very soon, no doubt. Right, let's move on. And let's talk about, I think we have to talk about the breaking news that we've had today and then ensuing that the game that happened on Sunday, which of course was Werder's 4-0 victory over Borussia Mönchengladbach. And the news today, this afternoon, that the club have parted ways with Gerardo Soriano. Really big news in the Bundesrepublik. I think Well, when we were doing predictions, or Mark and Cam were doing predictions on Thursday, I think a lot of people were a little bit unsure about what might happen. Not a great amount of confidence in Gladbach, but still with the theory that Werder are still themselves really struggling, crisis at centre half. Great that they've got Boniface in, but there's still players that are underperforming. And to see that result come in, on Sunday afternoon was, I'm sure, a real shock. But yeah, in the cold light of day, we have to react to the breaking news first, I think, Mark. And yeah, Soriano is a head coach who I think, we can both say we've backed him and have wanted the club to stick with him because of the hit and miss nature and the the yearly sackings of recent head coaches. We wanted him to have some time to improve the club, get Gladbach back into what they would consider where they belong, which is competing for European football and being in Europe. That's not really progressed, and the team also have not progressed. They've still remained incredibly inconsistent, which obviously is a great shame. What are your thoughts on this? Did you think it was the right time to pull the trigger? Again, it's obviously a really early time of the season. I was exchanging messages with Boston Gladbach via Instagram, and we were having some nice exchanges. And I think when we were chatting, shout out to Boston Gladbach, because I know you're a fan of the show, and we've spoken quite a lot in the last few years. There was a feeling of he had put himself in a position where it could happen, and so I guess he has no complaints that that the decision has now been made, and for the club to move on in a new direction. Mark, your initial thoughts and reactions to this one? I know we had strong thoughts about the Ten Hag sacking. Is this a slightly different direction, do we think?
Yeah, I think it is. Well, after 79 games and only 31% win record, I just feel as though it's not enough for a club like Borussia Mönchengladbach. As you say, Rory, I've always liked Sioane. I think he kind of gives the opposite of PE teacher vibes, basically. That's what I like about him. He always turns out in a nice suit with his hair slicked back and things. He looks the part, and I think that's what makes people think that he's a better manager than he is, maybe, to be honest. But ultimately, it has run dry in the end. I feel as though no goals in 3 games, and it was just woeful. Basically, what he's served up at the start of this season is beyond woeful, as far as I'm concerned. I think there were times last season when you thought, he's finally getting something going. I think there was 6th with about 6 or 7 games to go of last season. And then it obviously fell apart at the back end, and they didn't even qualify for Europe in the end. And then the way they've started this season is just atrocious, basically. Obviously, we don't always know how much input he gets over transfers, but I felt as though their summer transfer business was the definition of underwhelming, as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, the much maligned Tabakovic, who we've talked about a few times, was just an absolute car crash of a signing, basically. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't even think Shuto Machino is really worth 6.5 million. I think obviously we love him on the show. We're big fans of him, but is he really worth that kind of money? I'm not convinced. And what he's shown so far for Gladbach has kind of backed that up. He has been a bit unlucky with obviously Kleindienst's injury, because he's so key to that team. It's unbelievable. But I just feel as though he's never been able to get a settled lineup. He's never been able to get the true potential out of the likes of Honorar, Robin Hack. They've been good in parts and areas, but it's just been too hit and miss. That's the problem with them. And, obviously they finally broke the duck of failing to get back-to-back wins in, 3.5 years or something, but it's just still been too haphazard with them for me. And I think I still like him as a manager. I think he could do a good job somewhere else, but I feel as though it's gone absolutely dry at Gladbach. Yeah, it's sad, but the squad he's kind of inherited, he's left the future with now is probably not that much of an appealing job, in truth, because I feel as though the squad is a little bit underwhelming right now. A lot of off-form players. The defense is still problematic. The likes of Nico Elvedi still getting regular game time. I'm a little bit worried about them at the minute, but no goals in 3 games, only a 31% win record. It's just not enough for one of the, in my opinion, biggest clubs in Germany, really.
Yeah, fair shout. Peter, you can answer Justin's question here then. Will Gladbach go down this season? Surely not, is the question.
No. Don't forget that they will get Tim Kleindienst back at some point, and sometime in November. And actually, you could see. I watched the full game on Sunday, and one could see all of these crosses in the box were sort of aimed at an invisible Tim Kleindienst who wasn't there. Particularly in the case of Honorat, who's been an excellent assist partner for Kleindienst.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back and review if you like. I never really liked Seoane, and this dates back even to his Leverkusen days, even before I was on this pod. But I always thought that he was a needless tinkerer. I always thought that his personnel rotations didn't make sense. I think I went on an epic rant one time when I was doing this pod from Paris, where I was just screaming about how I want a footballing thesis from him, and I don't get one. He's performed better, and I think one of the reasons that Gladbach stuck with him was because, they had this thing where, after Marco Rosa left, Max Eber got Adi Hütter, and that turned out to be a horrible signing that only lasted a year. And then Daniel Fark came over, and that only lasted a year. So then they signed Seoane, and his performance after 1 year was you could have easily dismissed him after that, but they said, okay, no, we don't want to dismiss a coach after 1 year for the 3rd year in a row, so we're going to give him a little bit more time. And they gave him last year, and there was some improvement. I give the man credit for mostly sticking to a 4-2-3-1, but there were still far too many personnel rotations that didn't make any sense. Granted, he's always had a squad that's sort of uber stacked in the midfield, and not really well built around the wings. But there's squad balance issues. And as Mark said, it was a bad transfer window. It was a really bad transfer window. This idea of bringing in Haris Tabakovic to replace Tim Kleindienst, what a joke. And I wrote a crap piece about 3 impactful transfers over the summer. I thought Machino was a great signing, but that's probably because I love his name. I thought Lindstrom was an impactful signing, and he's not doing anything just yet. The other one I wrote about was Bangula, who had a great game. So hey, 1 out of 3 ain't bad, I guess. But otherwise, that was a total crap piece that I wrote. In this game, you could really tell from the body language that everybody was frustrated. Rocco Reitz looked like he had smelled something, like somebody had left an expired banana in his shorts or something through the entire game. He was terrible. And Reyna, okay, you can't expect Reyna to go from 0 to 30 or whatever his max speed is capable of at these days anyway. But at a 10, he was incredibly disappointing. And Machino, beyond that shot into the side netting, it was just no good. Yeah. No, they're not going to go down though. They're going to get a good coach. Matarazzo has already been linked with the job. I think that, if he can learn how to keep it simple, he can probably stabilize the team. After all, they do have, once they get Kleindienst back, Stöger should be starting every game at 10. Have a midfield double 6 axis set up. Somebody will stabilize this team. There's plenty of good coaches out there. And, as things are unfolding now, we're really, really seeing that the teams that are in deep, deep trouble are going to be Heidenheim and Union Berlin. So, I wouldn't, not even Hamburg, as bad as they are, am I worried about them being relegation candidates just yet. So it's, I don't think they go down at all. I'm old enough to have seen it happen. I've seen Gladbach play many times in the Zweite Bundesliga during the early aughts. I mean, they were there until Lucien Favre. There's a blast from the past for you, but until he brought them up, they were in the Zweite Bundesliga for quite some time. But nah, they're strong enough. They're strong enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's move on from that and actually talk about the game and heap some lovely credit because we like to praise people and teams, and Werder Bremen and Mbangula absolutely deserve credit for what they put on the pitch, because it was a really impressive display. I think a number of our favourites from the Green Machine really pitched up and put in a good performance. Like the likes of Schmidt, and Steig, of course. Mbangula had a great game as well. Nice to see. Obviously, the big loan signing, Victor Boniface, come off the bench for his first minutes and be impactful in the shape of getting an assist for Nijma right at the end. So absolutely, really impressive. Mark, any thoughts on? Oh, sorry, go on, Peter.
Well, tell you what, we talked about a bad transfer window for Gladbach. Let me eat my own words and have a nice serving of humble pie for all of the crap that I was giving Clemens Fritz and Peter Niemeyer in the Bremen front office. They had an incredible end to the transfer window, getting Sugawara, also Isaac Schmidt on loan from Leeds, and Boniface on loan. I mean, wow, what a signing that is! What a blockbuster signing that is! I mean, of course, the same thing could happen to him as Andre Silva and Rafael Santos Borre has happened at Bremen, but I mean, I don't think so. No, I mean, you got a 40 million euro valued player in this squad all of a sudden.
They must have done some pretty special marketing to bring him in. I still can't quite get my head over the fact that he's at Bremen, to be honest, because for me, I've always considered him to be one of the best strikers in the league, hands down. I think he can play in the Premier League anywhere. I think he's good enough. He's that good, Victor Boniface, in my eyes. And as you say, they've turned the season around, in my eyes. That's all I can say. I mean, obviously, we've been waiting a while to see that man Mbangula, and my God, was he good in this game. The guy looks like a world beater, basically. I think, Peter, you'd already kind of put him down to be the next Naby Keita with his injury possibilities, but wow, if they can get him on the pitch often playing like that, he looks a player, definitely. And Boniface already got an assist, basically. He was only on the pitch like a few minutes, and he already played one of those trademark passes into Njinma. And wow, it's just looking really good for them all of a sudden now. And I think every single one of their signings was quality, basically. I think Sagawara looks like a really good player as well, a right back. When you compare him to Malatini, for God's sake. I mean, and Jens, the world's stage, was back on the pitch as well. It's just the stars aligned, basically, for Werder. As soon as I saw Werder's team for this, I thought they're going to win the game, basically, because they were just too good for Gladbach. And I think if they can get that team out now, all of a sudden they've gone from everyone's 18th place picks to potentially a European challenger with that squad now. I mean, that's the third team I've bigged up for European challengers. That's partly to do with the kind of weaker standard of the usual top four in my eyes this year. But I definitely think they look like a good side right now. And obviously one game isn't going to decide where they finish, but it's definitely a big platform for Horst Steffen's team to build on. And I think, if they can get Boniface started in the next game, then I'm really looking forward to seeing them play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, good for you and Peter to give credit to, the powers that be at Bremen for their window. I think I'm going to be slightly more pessimistic, perhaps, and maybe I'll get some feedback off Bremen fans. But I think I'm probably still in the camp of wait and see what happens with Bremen. Impressive as they were, even Stuttgart beat Gladbach this season, and we've been awful. So I think, I think there's some realism. They still got a rookie goalkeeper. I still don't give much to their defence, to be frankly honest, at the moment. They're really pulled back in that position as it is. And Bangula has a good game and looks like a great player. The problem is for all our shows that we're going to do early doors is that it's such a small sample size. We've seen Werder play 3 Bundesliga games and 1 Pokal match, and 3 out of the 4 so far have been pretty damn poor. So I think, it's great that they've got off the mark, and it's a great Kickstarter for what hopefully is going to be something that they can shape their season around. But I'm not convinced just yet about Bremen, but that's fine. I can eat my own words as well later on in the season when Bremen come top 4 or something ridiculous. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll move the conversation on. Before we talk about any more games, because we need to get through a lot more games and a lot quicker, because we've got had a lot to talk about. Still want to do Champions League predictions as well. So just to pick up on this from NC Network, just wanting to ask about Mainz. They're playing one of our teams, Ammonia, soon. So, looking forward to that. Obviously, in the Conference League, it should be great to see Mainz, playing across Europe and, absolutely against Ammonia as one of them. Throw this over to Peter. What can you tell NC Network about Mainz, particularly for this season?
They had a lot of injuries recently. So it's actually... Hollerbach, the big summer signing who was meant to replace Burkhardt, he's been out injured since day one. Böving and Norden, Böving just got there. So, I mean, they had a very, very poor outing against Leipzig. It was very bad. And as a matter of fact, Nadim Miri said afterwards that he doesn't think the squad has the quality. But the fact is that they do have the quality. Norden had a good camp. Viper's situation is shored up. Böving will settle in eventually, and my hot tip and Amiri's hot tip for somebody who's going to really pick up steam around the halfway mark of the season is this young kid Ben Bobzian. So I don't think Mainz are in relegation territory unless they get hit hard by injuries.
Mark, again for NC Network, what kind of strengths do we see Mainz presenting, and how might they fare in the Conference League against the likes of Ammonia and other teams alike?
Yeah, first of all, big up to Cyprus. Fantastic place, by the way, as well. Yeah, but anyway, I think the team, they've just not got going in the season yet. I think they don't quite, as Peter said, they've got a lot of injuries as well. They've really struggled with the lack of Hollerbach, and first of all, the fact that Burkhardt left as well. I feel as though they've not quite got going in the season yet. They were very impressive in beating Rosenborg, Trondheim 4-1 in that must-win tie to qualify for this round. But it could be that they take a bit of time to get used to really playing regular European football. So I feel as though for Ammonia, they might be there for the B team right now, I feel. As Peter said, they're really struggling. Viper is not really doing it as a centre forward at the minute, and I feel as though they need a bit more time to really kind of get into this season. But overall, they're a strong top half Bundesliga team normally, but the extra scheduling is going to be tough on them, especially with an injury crisis at the minute as well.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for the question. I hope that was insightful for you in regards to your upcoming opposition against Mainz 05. Right, let's talk another game that happened on Saturday afternoon, I believe, was Union Berlin taking on Hoffenheim. This, again, was a high-scoring match, 4-2 in the end. And I think, as Peter alluded to early on in the season, it does very much look as if TSG have a bit of a squad on their side, on their hands this season, and look quite impressive. Again, I'll hand over to you, Peter, to run us through this one. Union at home, they were decent at set pieces. They tested Baumann particularly and looked a bit skeptical under a couple of them, and ensuing got a couple of goals from it. But overall, Hoffenheim produced the better football, I felt, and looked like a team that have got a lot of better players. And I think the question can be thrown out there is, how come it's taken so long to get their transfer window so right? It seems because there's a lot of players. Bernardo now at left back. Toure looks a real player. Obviously the other players that we talked about at the top end of the pitch as well are producing great stuff. So and I know you're not necessarily a huge TSG fan necessarily, but what did Hoffenheim produce in this game, and why do they look like definite European challengers this season?
Well, very humiliating for Union Berlin because Fisnik Aslani is from East Berlin, and he actually trained at the Union Academy before moving to Hoffenheim. Aslani he's returning on loan from Elversberg. He's probably the most important summer addition, really. Demar has also had a very good camp, although you haven't seen him actually log as many minutes. But this sort of 4-2-2-2, it's a very RB Leipzig-esque tactical system. Aslani and Lemperle are leading the line. There's two huge additions. The double six that they acquired over the summer, Wouter Burger and Avdullahu, the two of them played together at Basel, so they already know one another and they're already clicking. Kufal was a great signing, and Toure, what Bazumana Toure does, he's really, if you're a tactics nerd, follow him when you watch a Hoffenheim match, because it's really weird what he does. He's not a winger. He's like this. He almost rotates himself, into this 8 and 10 position. It's really, unfortunately for German football, they're a very, 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 very good team, and I've tipped them to finish top 4, and I don't like that. I prefer to write stories about Roger Wittmann or something like this, trying to ban him from the stadium when I talk about Hoffenheim. I'd rather write about that. But the fact is that they are a very good football team, and if you're a tactics nerd, you should at least check them out once. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the Hoffenheim fans this season, because I want to see more protests against Roger Wittmann and Dirk Mack and Dietmar Hopp, and I want these fans to stand up and say, we want our damn club, because you promised us 50+1, and if you're going to keep your sticky fingers in our club, then we're going to protest it, and then maybe I won't hate Hoffenheim so much.
Yeah, Mark, anything else about Hoffenheim? They look like they've got things working for them, really nicely, and are set up in what is a season of, refresh, reset in the Bundesliga. It looks fair to say that, with the experience of Kramaric as well, with the new players that they've added in, it looks fair to say that they're looking quite impressive after the first 3 games.
Yeah, I think they're the latest Bundesliga club that should send a letter of thanks to SV Elversberg as well, basically, because, they've completely revitalized Aslani, and he looks a hell of a player. And I think Damar will get more and more game time as well, because obviously Peter and I saw them basically destroy Nuremberg just a few months ago, didn't we, in the back end of the season? And both of them looked at that time, you were thinking, wow, these guys, as well as a couple of other Elversberg players too, at that time look Bundesliga class, basically, and that's exactly what Aslani's proved so far this season. He's also in my fantasy football team as well, so he's doing me proud right now. But as Peter said, I also feel as though the defensive stability that this very strong pivot is giving them as well, with Burger and Abdullahu, I feel as though this is a massive improvement to what they've had in a long time. They give them a proper, axis in the team, and while it's still not perfect defensively, by the way, they did make a couple of poor errors in this game to give 2 very soft goals to Union. I feel as though Baumann had one of his worst games that I can remember, to be honest, for the club. But overall, the system is just working so well, and the attack and the way they go from midfield into attack is really good. And yeah, especially away from home, I feel as though the system is actually better suited away from home, because as we know, at the Pro Zero arena, they do struggle at times with like low crowds and things like that. That could be an issue if they want to get top 4. But away from home, they basically dominated Leverkusen and Union now. A very poor-looking Union, by the way, who haven't struggling, basically. And as Peter said, could well be relegation fodder at the moment.
We shall see. Next up for Hoffenheim, home to Bayern. So, the ultimate acid test will come to the Pre-Zero arena. But yeah, great weekend for them. Right, we're going to have to speed through some of these games. I think one game that we can speed through is the top spiel from Saturday. It was just, it was inevitable. It happened. It was over after 30 minutes. Bayern scoring, 4 goals very, very quickly. Sharing out the goals as well. Just doing what Bayern needed to do. Hamburg did not have any answers. It was just a dominant performance overall. I don't feel necessarily, unless you two boys want to shout out something, that I've learned something new from Bayern winning and Hamburg losing. So necessarily it's pretty much as you were. Bayern mainly were able to pleasingly rest a lot of their players at half-time or after 60 minutes, give or take, because the game was done for their Champions League opener against Chelsea, which we will predict at the end of this show. Champions roll on. Hamburg dust themselves down and hopefully will go again in their next match and produce something slightly better, because it's not been the greatest start for HSV so far. Into that category, I think Peter already mentioned it, was the RB Leipzig Mainz game. A 1-0 result, a good win for Leipzig. Justin's team for Bakayoko getting his first goal. He looked industrious and exciting, and Mainz, although they huffed and they puffed, they didn't obviously ultimately get an equaliser in that one, and it was a good win for Leipzig in the end, 1-0. So just a couple of other games that we haven't got to. I think one game that we eventually have to talk about is actually, I'll tell you what we'll do first is the Pauli game, because we definitely deserve to give them lots of credit for their start of the season. We've talked about them a decent amount so far, and they were at it again. A great win on Sunday over FC Augsburg. After the away side took the lead through Neumann, Fabian Rieder, obviously formerly of VfB Stuttgart last season, getting a header after really good work from Masenko to make it 1-0. But then, penalty for Pauli first up, which Hutonji missed or had it saved and was able to put in the rebound, albeit it looked like he was already off running celebrating, but still managed to put in the rebound, luckily for him, for the 1-1. And then the second goal being Sinani's deflected free kick, which Phil was quite fortunate. And you kind of see those sort of free kicks. It was low and fast, fine, but you usually see them just cleared at the front post straight away. Mark, Pauli march on, making us eat our words for our, early season prediction video. They just keep on marching on and look really, really impressive. Did you think they deserved this one on Sunday?
Yeah, it was a funny kind of game, this one, really, because they weren't as impressive as in the first 2 games for me. I felt as though they were much better against both Dortmund and Hamburg, which, as you know, I considered that to be almost the perfect away performance, really, in some ways. This one, they needed a lot of luck, I'm going to be honest. The luck was on their side a little bit in this one. I think the penalty that they conceded was, the header wasn't going anywhere near the goal, was it? And it just clips his hand. But I guess in the modern day, it has to be given. But it's bad luck from Sessiger, who obviously gave it away, really. I always think with defenders, there's very little you can really do, because he's jumped, and it's what I call an Augsburg penalty, that one. It's the kind of penalty that goes against FC Augsburg, which actually I think Sandro Wagner made a point of that after the game. And I was just thinking, welcome to Augsburg, my friend, But it was a bit of a soft one, but they probably had to give it ultimately. And then obviously the penalty was saved, and as you say, he was kind of off balance a bit when he tucked away the rebound, wasn't he? So, and then the winner was also a little bit scrappy, if I'm being honest. But you've got to win those kind of games too. This is what Pauli weren't doing last year. Last year, they'd probably have drawn that game 1-1, and it would have been a little bit underwhelming. But this is what is better now from Pauli. They've started to score goals. They're getting different types of goals. And that man Hutonji is there week after week. I think, you know, if you're Sandro Wagner, you're a bit disappointed, to be honest, to lose that game. You're probably wondering how you've lost it, really, in truth, because for just 2 set plays, you know. But they've got to learn, you know, because Wagner's very new to management at this level. Well, and I feel as though defensively they've not been as good as they were under Torup. Obviously, they've offered quite a bit more going forward, but defensively they're giving goals away that they weren't doing under Torup. So we'll have to see. The jury's still out on them a bit, but congratulations to Pauli. As you say, you're not going to play beautiful football every game, and they still managed to get another win, and that's 7 points from 3 games for them now. Congratulations.
Yeah, unreal for Pauli. And then, another game that we need to just cover quickly is, Freiburg, VfB Stuttgart. This was one that I was posting about on socials, as one does, because I was having a delightful day out at Chester Zoo on Saturday and managed to get 1 goal notification coming through, which was the Stuttgart Demirovic goal. And my signal was a bit hit and miss in Chester. So I then exited the zoo thinking, I'll check my phone and see if, assuming that Stuttgart held on to an important 1-0 away win, much to my shock, then saw the fact that Freiburg had not only scored 1, not 2, but 3 goals in 10 minutes and had a man sent off all in that time. And then my drive home was slightly less pleasant, sadly. But yeah, Peter, I listened to the great VfB Americana lads podcast a little bit earlier on when I was driving back and forth to football this evening, and they were kind of going through the game in great depth from a Stuttgart point of view, and talking about the problems a little bit. Felt like a game that Stuttgart really ultimately deserved to lose, but it only really happened late on, and thanks to a very impactful super sub from Matanovic.
Deja vu. You remember opening day last season when the exact same thing happened in Freiburg after that drinks break, and Freiburg came back to win by a 3-1 scoreline. I actually, I don't know if they mentioned this on the VfB Stuttgart Americana. Love those guys, of course. But I think Hoeneß, I don't know what he was thinking. First of all, thanks to Sebastian Hoeneß for my tired eyes on transfer deadline day. You had to get 2 North Africans that I'm sitting there trying to spell check the whole time. Bilal El Kanous, 2 N's, 2 S's. Yes, thank you. And then Badruddin Bouanani, and I'm sitting there again like, oh god. I don't think either one of these guys should have started. There wasn't really any reason for either one of them to start, other than for Hoeneß to give them a trial run, and that's that played a role in it, obviously. I mean they didn't play with a great deal of courage. That was a wonderful back heel goal from Demirovic. I'm sorry. I hope you got a chance to see it live. But I'm not writing off Stuttgart. You were talking about the small sample size, and there's been wholesale changes, of course, at the end of the transfer window. Stuttgart, so many new actors in, and such a crucial one gone with Nick Woltemade, and of course Undav's injury. I mean, I give it time to sort out. For those who are a little bit more interested in St. Pauli and Augsburg, as a matter of fact, I'm working on more detailed pieces on both of those clubs because I find them fascinating. And you know how I love to write these long of 2,000 word things. So I'll post those on social media. I think the same is already applied to Dortmund, which is the only club that we haven't talked about. It was not much to talk about in that win over Heidenheim. I've already done a Champions League preview for them and caught up on the tactics and everything. Our Heidenheim humorous anecdote of the week. A couple of weeks ago, we were closing with Kevin Müller, I think. Unfortunately for Heidenheim, Leat Pakarada, who they just acquired to serve as left back, has torn his ACL and will be out for about 6 months. So Heidenheim are in dead last. They are the only Bundesliga team not to have not to have gotten a point yet. And so, of course, Gladbach and Hamburg haven't scored goals yet, so they're pretty bad as well. Yeah, so Jonas Feurenbach is now going to have to play left back unless they can switch Hakhtab Traore over there. Anyway, the humorous Heidenheim anecdote of the week is that Leo Senzia, of course, decided to move to Southampton late on. And I had to do a story on Frank Schmidt saying, I just can't imagine why he did that. And I'm thinking to myself, Frank, the man was offered a chance to triple his pay on the south coast of England, and you expected him to stay in Heidenheim, where in the Ostalb, where Mark and I visited there. We went to Ulm to go see Senzia live, and it was still snowing in April. I mean, you hate to laugh at Heidenheim because they've got so many things going wrong for them, but there could be seriously a humorous Heidenheim anecdote every week on this show because sometimes you have to laugh to keep from crying.
I mean, to be honest, I still can't believe that there's still a Bundesliga team. I have to keep giving my head a proverbial wobble because it felt like last season they were just on the verge of relegation every week, didn't it? And they somehow managed to survive. And
they were a Conference League team last season.
They were playing against Chelsea.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. But how they survived, I mean, even in that playoff against Elversberg, like Elversberg were 2-0 up in the away leg and stuff. It's like how are Heidenheim even at this level, still. But congratulations to them for that. But obviously they are struggling so far, aren't they? Let's be honest.
They are. But let's hope for them that it will turn around and they'll start to pick up some points soon because they've had a relatively poor start. It is safe to say. Lovely stuff. I think we'll just finish off then with some quick fire UCL Champions League predictions for the 4 Bundesliga teams participating. No Europa or Conference League this week, so it's just the 4 teams in action. Start off with Tuesday night. We've got Juve at home to Dortmund. So I'll throw it over to you, Mark, first quickly. So what are you going with?
Difficult trip to start off with. I mean, it's never easy going away to Italy. It's a really tough one, this, guys. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to go for Dortmund to get a draw, though, because I think Dortmund, we do normally see the better football from them in Europe. I mean, I'm going to go for a 1-0, but I believe that Juve have also started their Serie A campaign very well, too. So I think it should be a decent game, and I'm going to go for a 1-0 in this one.
Lovely. Over to you, Peter.
That's precisely what I tipped. I studied Dortmund's tactics in greater depth and threw a piece. It's up there on social media if anybody wants to read it. And I tipped 1-1.
I think that's very fair. But for want of being too boring, I'll say 2-2. Lovely stuff. Move on to Wednesday. What have we got here? Wednesday is Bayern Chelsea. Obviously being a Premier League follower, regrettably these days, seen Chelsea in action a few times, watched them against Brentford on Saturday evening. They've obviously succumbed to a 2-2 draw. They're a decent side, but Bayern at home at the Allianz, I'll kick things off and I can see them winning, and I will say a 3-1 victory for the German champions. Peter?
Had to unmute there. Yes, absolutely. I agree. Company had a great presser on Saturday night in which he said, I can already feel the Oktoberfest energy at the Allianz. And that's precisely what is coming. The Wiesenzeit is coming. So let's go German champions. It should be, it was a great game. I did not know, as I was researching this, that Chelsea were both the defending Club World Cup and Conference League champions. But I'm going with my Germans on this one. 3-1's a great tip.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Wiesenzeit special and a 4-0 Bayern win. I think the stars are aligning a little bit for Bayern at the minute, and I just think they're going to thrash the Londoners for me.
Let's see. Yeah, well, we're all back in Bayern. Early Thursday, FC Copenhagen will be the hosts for Bayer Leverkusen. So another, a very quick second game for Kaspar. I will throw this over to you, Mark, first for a tip for Leverkusen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Hjulmand going back to his homeland as well very, very soon in the tie. So it's going to be maybe even more dad vibes potentially that game. But yeah, it's one of those early kickoffs, isn't it? Which I'm still not really a fan of, to be honest, in Europe. They've started doing these very early kickoffs. Obviously, it's a little bit later over here in Germany, but I guess in the UK time, it's like, what, 5:45? Like you barely finish work and the games are already starting. But it's not that easy, and it's a game that Leverkusen have got to win in many ways because, you know, you've got to beat those teams from like smaller leagues, haven't you, really? As Stuttgart found out the hard way last season, really, with some of their results. But I always feel as though they're the games in the Champions League where you've just got to win, basically. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 Leverkusen win. Just about get it done.
That's fair. Peter?
I'll tip Copenhagen, and I'll tip them, 2-1. I'll go the other way. I hope my friend, I'm sure Rune will be at the game, and I wish him a great time.
I guess he will be.
Yeah, I wish him a fabulous time.
Yes, I believe he will be indeed. And I will then might as well split it down the middle. I'll say 2-2 for that one. And all I'll say about Stuttgart was at least we lost to the eventual winners. So I'll take some morality from Stuttgart's demoralizing, what was it, 5-0 against PSG in the last game, something like that. Later on that evening, Frankfurt Galatasaray. That should be I presume the atmosphere for that will be absolutely fantastic. Turkish football seems to be on a bit of a crest of a wave, I guess. Lots of money involved, at least in the game. Some big players heading over there at the moment. But Peter, Frankfurt versus Gala, what are we saying?
I'll go with my heart and say 3-2 Frankfurt. I think it's going to be a great game. I hope to see Leroy Sané again. He's there, and maybe Roland Shalai as well, but Sané will be the one that I'm looking for.
Yeah. Go on, roll, lad. Yeah. No, I think this is going to be a game that the police are not going to be enjoying, basically, because I think, obviously, Frankfurt, one of Germany's most feared ultra groups in terms of a physical standing. I think Peter and I also had a bit of a run-in with them as well on the, maybe not quite fine, but we did have a good chat with them.
No, they're no run-in. They're, come on, they're 17-year-old kids had a bit much to drink.
You wouldn't have fancied taking them on, though, I don't think.
Not a 17-year-old. I don't have that kind of energy, Mark.
But anyway, yeah, the police are going to be in for a tough night, I think, there, with obviously Gala, I'm sure experienced getting a huge support from within Germany as well as outside of Germany as well. But I am going to go for the more experienced European team here. I feel as though obviously Gala have got a bit of a kind of, they're almost like a kind of, you know, like second-rate Galacticos thing going on over there, haven't they? They've got Aussie men and all kinds of players now. Obviously, quite a lot of money being spent over there, but I feel as though Frankfurt have got the experience at this level. So I'm going to go for a 3-2 Frankfurt win here. I think it's going to be a good game as well.
Yeah, I'll round off and say 2-1 to please the 17-year-old boys that are running around in Frankfurt, tearing the place down. Well, on that note, I think it's best to round off this evening. And thank you to everyone for watching. It's been great fun, as always, going through match week 3 of the Bundesliga. A fantastic weekend of footy, as it always is in the Bundesrepublik, and looking forward as well. We should be back on Thursday for more predictions, more fancy. Look out on socials for that. Over to you, Mark, to close out tonight's show.
Peter, you've ruined our vision of being hard nuts now. Everyone thought we were hard nuts, so now we're...
We are hard. And there wasn't an altercation. I was talking with the guys. They were they were too drunk to comprehend the fact that I was, to comprehend much. I was talking with the guys. We didn't have a problem.
Come on, we're digging ourselves a hole now.
There was no problem, Mark. There was none. I mean, we never.
Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Don't forget, we're also on all social medias as well, like X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And we're also a podcast as well, so don't forget to check us out on there too. So thank you very much, guys. Thanks for your interaction as usual, the likes of NC Network, Justin Crosser, and Left Footed as well. So thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you again later in the week for the next show. So see you then, guys. Servus.
Cheers all.